Welcome, everyone. I'm your host and your moderator for the Breakthroughs in Visual Art and Fashion panel. My name's Carly Caryn, and I'm joined by these three incredible female artists and entrepreneurs, Taylor Swope of Little Hippie and Taylor Swope Art and Outcasty Designs, Abby Fantastic of Abby Fantastic and Fashions by Fantastic, and Brooke Einbender, also of Einbender Designs, or Art, excuse me. And our host, Megs Rutigliano, graciously invited me to host this panel for her inaugural and hopefully first of many Reinventions showcases. And as soon as she told me about her vision, I was incredibly honored, of course, and an instant enthusiastic yes to participate, because I love hosting conversations with other artists, and I love asking thought-provoking, meaty questions and really diving into what makes artists tick and their art sing. So I'm super excited to be here to shine a light on these other lovely ladies and their incredibly creative artistic visions. And they're doing some really innovative art, these three, and in some very cool places and operating really successful businesses to boot. So this is a really exciting opportunity, I think, to create space for us all to engage with each other. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the flow, what's going on here. I'll start out by telling you a little bit about me and my background and my creative journey. And then I'm going to turn over the spotlight to each of these three amazing artists to talk about their evolutions and how each of them have addressed the challenges of the pandemic. And we're going to ask some juicy questions and undoubtedly get some inspiring answers. And we're going to spend the last segment answering any questions that you might have for these ladies. And so that's what we're going to do. Okay. And so let's get started. Okay. I'm going to take just a second to share my screen. You all just want to say a quick hello to everyone.
Hi, guys.
Hi, thanks for joining.
This is
gonna be a great discussion.
Oh, I guess your names are on the screen, so it's clear who you are. But okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Give me just 1 second. Okay, sweet. All right, here we are. We are at the Reinventions Breakthrough in Visual Art and Fashion. And my name is Carly Caryn. I was born and raised in Hollywood, California. And obviously, as many people know, that's really synonymous with the film industry and acting and the creative arts. It's very much part of the culture. So as I grew up, I took my stab at acting, and I was in the theater department at UCLA there. And I also did an internship at a local production company kind of during my college years, which I was doing PA work and production coordinating. I also did a lot of wardrobe styling at that time. So I was getting some really hands-on real world experience working in Hollywood. I also was always really interested in photography, and Hollywood is really known for all of this really incredible googie signage. So I would just go all over the city photographing signs and landmarks. And later I went to Art Center College of Design because I was really more interested in being behind the camera, both as a photographer, but also as a filmmaker. And I was really interested in music videos at the time. I really thought that I was going to become some fabulous music video director. And that was kind of where I thought my path would lead me. Somewhere in here, Eye for Style was born, which I thought was sort of the perfect marriage of photography and styling. And right around the time that I was getting out of school, a historic preservationist and architectural consulting firm asked if I would be interested in documenting and photographing some historic buildings for upcoming projects that they had. And so I said, yeah, sure, I'm down to do that. And I realized that I really enjoyed shooting architecture, and one job sort of turned into another. And I ended up making sort of a 12-year career out of photographing historic buildings for rehab grants and tax credits and the National Register and the Library of Congress. And that was a great lifetime in Los Angeles. I had kind of said to myself at one point, I had moved into this house, and I said, when I hit the 10-year mark, I was really going to think about whether or not I was going to stay there, what I might do next. And because I just think that it's important to kind of shake up your life and start doing things differently. So what I ended up doing is moving to New York City. It was something I never planned in a million years, but when life and New York City called, I answered. It took me about 8 months to figure out how to get myself there and where I was going to live. But I ended up spending 5 really fantastic years in New York City, which was really an exciting time for me, especially because everything was just so new. I just had this sense of exploration and newness. I just wanted to go to every single neighborhood and photograph everything, and I did. I also kind of shifted my focus in photography and started doing more food and cocktail-based stuff. And I was really interested in blogging was big at the time. It still is, but I was really interested in photographing my favorite places, food and cocktails. Then also writing about them and sharing my recommendations with other people through maps and my blog. I just always really loved having my finger on the pulse of what was happening in the city, and sharing those recommendations with other people. So I did a lot of that, writing, blogging, photography. I also had a bunch of executive assistant jobs because, I had to keep paying the bills. And that's what you have to do when you live in New York City is you got to have more than one job a lot of times. So that's what I did. And it was a blast, full of my own Sex and the City moments for sure. But I have to say that it also presented its own challenges, and a lot of those being, having to make ends meet by working lots of different jobs. Dating in the city is no easy task. Hurricane Sandy really added a level of challenge and complication. My landlord died in his apartment downstairs, and so that last year of my New York City living, I kind of started to think, geez, I wonder if maybe California is calling me again. And I ended up moving back to Los Angeles and kind of regrouping to figure out, what came next for me. So while I was doing that, I thought I was reestablishing myself in Los Angeles. But life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. And what happened to me is that the Bay Area ended up calling me. I got a random call from a friend one day who said, hey, there's a really cool festival that's happening in Northern California. You should really come check it out. A lot of your old friends from Burning Man are going to be there. And I just kind of spontaneously decided to take a road trip and go to this festival. And I ended up falling in love with an old friend and having a 10-day epic love adventure, which really charted the next course of my life and brought me to San Francisco. So I started splitting my time between Los Angeles and San Francisco and working with my love and my partner, Joe Bullock of Anon Salon and Anon Events. And he is a impresario in his own right. He ran the Anon Salon at the corner of 9th and Howard in San Francisco for almost 18 years. And it was really the epicenter of art and party and creativity in San Francisco. And by the time I came along, Anon Salon had kind of just recently wrapped up, but he was full on in the event world and was doing a series of annual events like Superhero Street Fair, San Francisco Decompression. We also did Masqueradica, which was a Halloween costume ball. And we had the biggest event of the year, which was Sea of Dreams, which was our New Year's Eve party. And so I started working with him. We were doing a lot of making of decor, all of the stuff that you see here with the tubes and the lighting and the flags and the fabric. And we would basically go in and decorate spaces. And we had some pretty big corporate events in San Francisco. This is a picture of Sea of Dreams as well. That last one was Masqueradica. This was Sea of Dreams at the Bill Graham Civic. Here's us living the big producer life as a couple. This is Sea of Dreams, Thievery Corporation. I mean, this is really the highlight of our artistic career, and we were really doing some big events at the time. We did the 100th anniversary of San Francisco City Hall, so we had a lot of installations. We hired performers. We were also again doing some big corporate events in Las Vegas, and started doing some more parties with a purpose that were kind of integrating panel chats and dance parties. And this is the Wisdom 2.0 conference, which was a conference about mindfulness and spirituality. But we also did the big party at the Foundry every year. This is some of our stage designs. We did the main stage. And so every year we did like a different concept for the main stage. And so, yeah, things were really going well for us. We were super busy. But, also burnout is real. And we started to feel like we need to get away from the city, or I started to feel that way. And we started spending more time in the North Bay in the country. And we found a beautiful home in the forest and started working more remotely and visiting the city mostly for meetings and play. We were still doing a lot of events in the city, but we were also cultivating our party event business here in Sonoma County and becoming a little bit more discerning about the events that we were taking on, slowing down to work less and enjoy life a little bit more. And then Hollywood Photographs came into my life in 2019. It really was kind of an unexpected thing. My parents inherited this archive of over 12,000 different historic photos of Hollywood taken between 1880 and 2012 from this photographer who had been compiling this archive. And it was in need of a new website. And so I took on the process of basically redesigning the website and bringing the archive to a new generation of people. And so this is one of the landing pages. You could search basically by theme on the landing pages. This is the movie making page. Here we have the gallery pages. We have 110 different topics on the website. And so there was a lot to go through to design this website. This is, we have also an e-commerce feature, which didn't exist on the website before. So you can, now we had it automated that you could purchase and license images and do it very easily and automatically. And we also had a blog component where my mom is a historic preservationist and an architectural consultant. And so she wrote a lot of the text, and I would edit it and put it on the blog. And it was a great history lesson. I really enjoyed working with my mom on that. And it was really kind of a great project for me in order to put together all of my web design, photography, history, styling skills. And then the pandemic hit. So that was actually a great project to have during the pandemic. And it really saved me, actually. And so that's a little bit about my trajectory. I've reinvented myself, as you can see, at least 3 or 4 times so far, and we'll see where the future takes me next. So now I would love to turn it over to Taylor Swope of Little Hippie and have her tell us a little bit about her creative path. Taylor?
Thanks, Carly.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm gonna share my screen too. Give me a sec. Okay. I'm Taylor Swope. I'm an artist and the owner of a creative small business called Little Hippie. I specialize in licensing and merchandising, and I make a wide range of items, including apparel, home goods, greeting cards, and a variety of accessories. My products all have art on them, mostly created by me, with a few images contributed by friends. The customers I sell to are music fans, primarily of 2 bands, Grateful Dead and Fish, and I built my business over the course of nearly 2 decades, decades on the road, working at concerts and music festivals. On March 12th last year, I went to Madison Square Garden for a concert. New York City was on the verge of shutting down, and although it was a risky outing, it still felt normal to do it. However, returning home on a deserted subway, I knew I wouldn't be going out again for a while, and that my life as I'd known it for a long time was ending with that concert. What I didn't know was what I would do instead. Although I'd been selling my products online since I started my business in the early days of e-commerce, I hadn't always prioritized it. There were some years where my website sales were minimal while I was living off the sales I generated on the road. Last spring, as event cancellations flooded my inbox, my online sales also ground to a halt. After having survived many previous challenges, there were a few weeks where I thought, this was it. This was the crisis that would finally kill my business. I didn't know what to work on, and I didn't know how to focus my energy. With the future so uncertain, there was no way to know what to put effort into. And it felt very inappropriate to proceed with business as usual, marketing products for sale, and promoting myself on social media. But my birthday was around the corner, and that gave me an idea. When the world first shut down, there was so much concern for what that meant for birthdays, especially for kids. I knew I was about to be spending my birthday home alone, and I thought about how others with upcoming birthdays might be feeling. So I put out a call on my company's socials, offering to send a birthday card to anyone who asked for one. Instantly, messages started coming in and didn't stop for days. I quickly realized I didn't have enough cards on hand, so I drew a new birthday card and ordered 1,000 of them and mailed them over the next few months. Not only did I get to spread joy in doing so, but it gave me something to focus on, and it gave me comfort through living in New York as the city was overwhelmed with COVID cases. And I'm just going to go off script for a quick second. I noticed that my aunt is here in the audience, which I wasn't expecting, and she and my uncle very generously donated postage for this project. So I just want to say thank you. My birthday is April 2nd, and that night around midnight, while FaceTiming with my boyfriend Harry, who is also my partner in a second business called Outcasty, I received an email from one of my longtime manufacturers announcing that they were now making masks. I joked to Harry, they're just doing it to be allowed to stay open, not realizing what was about to happen. Around 3 p.m. on April 3rd, I received a text from Etsy that said, calling all sellers, start making masks. We're experiencing unprecedented demand. I've never received a message like that from Etsy before or since. I joked to Harry again, maybe we should make masks. The answer is yes, and we got right to work. As he drafted a product listing, I mocked up a mask using a pattern well known to fans of fish called Fishman donuts, a red circle on a blue background. And by 6 p.m., Friday, April 3rd, we had sold our first mask. At the end of that weekend, we had sold about 500 masks with no sign of sales letting up. We spent the next few months scrambling to keep up with the demand for masks, dealing with major manufacturing delays, and having to explain to customers who were already so distressed about their lives being upended and didn't even want to have to order this product in the first place, how much the pandemic had disrupted the global supply chain as we were figuring it out ourselves. Although it was challenging, both our joint venture and my longtime business grew a ton through online sales as a result. And what we would learn in the process would help us to prepare for and make the most of the upcoming holiday season. Recognizing early in the year a shift in consumer desires towards home goods and items of comfort, the masks led us to design all sorts of other products, starting with the same pattern and adding from there. Curtains, pillows, tableware, area rugs, mugs, the list goes on. I also created some new greeting cards with inspiring lyrics and shareable images with the same graphics, as well as downloadable coloring book pages. Anything I could do to connect with my customers and fellow fans. For years, I'd been saying I didn't want to work on the road anymore, but I never knew how to stop. The pandemic forced me to, and it ended up being a really good life change for me. I'd spent so many years barely getting by, always just trying to get to the next show, surviving on adrenaline and determination, but never stability. Once there were no longer concerts and events to work at, I was in a position where I had to think differently and act decisively. It forced me to look at what I'd already created and to come up with new ways to use my resources. I had art, a website, a customer base, a social media audience, relationships with manufacturers, and a long history of resilience. I had a well to go to, and I went to it. By trusting my talents and having confidence in my ability to problem solve, I knew that, like always, I would endure these massive life changes by never giving up. Even better, it pushed me to move on from a subsistence mentality and start building a framework in which I could exist comfortably so that me, my art, and my business could finally all thrive. As a result of last year's pivot to an all online business model and adding new products to my catalog, I ended up having my best year ever in almost 20 years of business. Not only was I driven to persevere, but I was also in a position to act on experience, to react to circumstances, and to create with old tools to fill new needs. That's what owning a small business really is. It's about doing whatever you have to do to keep going, whether it's trying to get to the next festival or trying to make it through a pandemic. Owning a small business, especially for an artist, is a constant act of reinvention, the ultimate survival instinct of an entrepreneur. And on that note, let's get into it. I'm excited to be here with all of you and see what that means for everyone.
Thanks, Taylor. That's actually an incredible pivot, I have to say, from what you were doing to how you had to shift gears during the pandemic to keep your business alive. I think that's really fascinating. I have a lot of questions that I want to come back and ask you about, but I want to make sure that we introduce everybody first, and then we'll get into all the chat with each other. So, Abby, you want to take it away?
Hello, everybody. Nice to be here. Nice to see you all. Thanks to everyone that's in our little chat room at the moment. And yes, I'm Abby Fantastic, and what an inspiring panel to be involved in. Thank you very much, ladies. So yeah, let me tell you a bit about myself. I am Abby Fantastic. I am an artist with many strings to my artistic bow, but painting is where my heart lies. So you can see some of my paintings behind me here. I've been painting since I was a wee girl and very much inspired by abstract expressionism, very much involved with colour and composition. So I'm going to share my screen now and start my presentation here. 1 second. Can you all see this? Can you all see that?
Yeah,
wonderful.
Yeah. You're good.
So yeah, it's all about colour and composition. The bigger, the brighter, the bolder, the better. Yeah, using lots of bright colours, lots of different materials. Painting since I was a very young girl and was obsessed with a program called Art Attack as a child, which is all about having fun with art. I have so much fun with my art, and that's one thing I always say to inspiring artists is to just have fun with your work. It's a good place to start. And then obviously going through college and my foundation and then university. And one of my tutors describing my work as art attack on acid, which is quite poignant. But going through my artistic journey, if you like, it's just got bigger and bolder. Always working in sort of split canvases because I think my work is so bold that the diptychs and triptychs kind of make the canvas breathe more in a way, and the canvas almost sort of tell its own story. So this is the kind of style I've been doing for quite a while. Obviously, you can see the sort of colors I love to use. Yeah, and again, just having lots of fun with my work. So I've been doing this in England, and then I started traveling, sort of painting my way around the world, ending up the last 7 years in Barcelona and running music and art events in Barcelona called Collaboration Station, and just giving other artists a platform to share their work with me, which has been really fun and inspiring. And one of the things that actually took me to Barcelona was Nowhere Festival, which is one of the Burning Man regional events. And I was invited to go and do an art installation at Nowhere, and I went with a one-way ticket and ended up in Barcelona for 7 years. These things tend to happen. So as you can see, I do lots of split canvases, diptychs and triptychs. And going through the whole pandemic thing, I ended up coming back to England to be with my father in Devon. And you can see here I'm using lots of different materials that kind of like merge together. But then through the whole pandemic, I decided to put my very bold, I do lots of installations. I decided to put my work onto, so this is an installation I did in San Francisco, so I've gone ahead of myself. So through Barcelona, I actually met someone in Barcelona called Elliot, who runs a place called the Unicorn Estate in San Leandro in San Francisco. And she flew me out to San Francisco to do this mural piece in San Leandro. And that was my first piece in America, actually, and that led me on to do many other wonderful projects in America, and that's obviously how I met the beautiful Megs. Thank you, Megs. And I do know that one of my good friends is actually on this participation, which is Marc-Antoine, and he helped me do a project in the Republic de Fromage. So thank you, Marc-Antoine, I know you're there somewhere. And it's been very much like a snowball of event for me. One thing has led to another and led to another. So this is my first project in San Francisco, and then the year after I was invited to go back and do my peacock piece. This became quite a famous piece of my work, which is a main piece on my website. It's actually the background on a globally curated website, if anyone has noticed that. So I was very, very grateful that Meg decided to use my piece for the backdrop of a new project. And then during the pandemic, I decided to put I was obviously in lockdown and looking after my dad back in England. And I'm terrible with computers and sort of graphics and that kind of stuff, but I taught myself how to put my designs onto fabrics and do my designs onto clothing. And this is my new project, which is Fashions by Fantastic. So yeah, I taught myself to do the website and taught myself how to do the prints and stuff. And yeah, this is a very new project, but it's a project I'm very, very excited about. So as you see, I've got swimwear because I was in Barcelona for a while, but now I'm in the mountains of France. So you've got the hoodies, got to keep warm in the mountains. And it's gone very, very well. So obviously I've got fashions for ladies and men and children and everything in between. The leggings have been going down really well with everyone that loves to do yoga and all that kind of stuff. And the shoes are great. Everyone loves the shoes. And then now I'm actually in France. I'm in the Alps of France at the moment. So I've been inspired to start doing these mountain paintings, which is very kind of like out of my comfort zone. Like my work is so abstract, so expressive. And I love to just like splash color about. So when I came here and people asked me to do some mountain paintings, I was like, well, I can do some abstract mountains that will definitely be in my style. And they've gone down really, really well. And obviously in the mountains, everyone has these beautiful chalets. So at the moment I've been doing these beautiful sort of like mountainscapes, and it's been a great place for me to sort of experience this recent lockdown, because we are able to go hiking and snowboarding, and it's been really, it's been very free for me to like still keep painting in a very open, free way. But obviously you kind of have some kind of focus and purpose, and I'm living here with my brother, which keeps me in my happy place, of course. So yeah, I've been doing these mountain pieces, and obviously like going back to this one, this is obviously mountain, and I thought, well, I've got to put my colors into this. So then I've been doing sort of these more Abbey Fantastic mounting pieces with my colours. And yeah, it's been going really well. And then just going back to the whole inspired by nature, going back into past in my career, I was actually doing installations with natural materials. So I also build nests. And these, what I like to describe as upside down human-sized birds' nests. So you can imagine a human-sized bird's nest upside down, and you can climb into them. And I don't know if you guys know an English festival called the Secret Garden Party, which was back in the day. So this was the Secret Garden Party. And then I went on to doing a big sort of art collaboration in Normandy in France, a place called Le Factory, which is a big sort of clown school. And my ex-partner, Jérôme, he is a clown and teaches clowning. So we would do like children's clown classes inside my nests. That was also very fun. And I built them so well that you could actually sit on top of the nests. And so very much sort of inspired by nature. And I think even in my painting, you can see that it's very sort of like natural, very free flowing and organic in a way. So I had lots of fun with my nest. This is a nest I did for a friend's wedding called the Love Nest. And at the end of the wedding, like everybody was in the Love Nest. So it was lots and lots of fun. And yeah, like I say, just like a snowball, and being back in France, it's a beautiful place to be. This is also for Le Factory. This is for a poetry festival, and people had to sort of meander through the woods, and then they'd come across like my little wood creations and installations. And then just to sort of finish at the end here, these are sort of just some of the latest pieces I've been doing in France. So it's sort of where my art's sort of taken another sort of flip, and it's very much my artistic and abstract expressionistic style, but it's starting to get a bit more depth to it. And I'm using different palettes, sort of like stripping it back a bit and using sort of different coloured palettes, which has been really exciting and interesting. And then this was literally the last piece I finished a couple of days ago, which is actually a piece that I did for me and my brother. It's a piece I've actually done for our new apartment. And it's been really nice to actually paint a piece for me, because it's always been like commission based, project based, and yeah, it's been beautiful to be here with my brother. And I said to my brother, I was like, I'm going to do a piece for your apartment, and he was like, well, I hope I like it, because if not, you have to just put it up for sale. And I was like, okay. And he likes it. He likes it. So yeah, I've been yeah, just that's my sort of roller coaster ride. Obviously, I've got lots more to say, but I'm going to leave it at that for now. And I hope you like what I've had to say so far.
Thank you so much, Abby. There is so much to love there. I mean, I've always been a huge fan of the really bold, bright colors. I love your style. I'm also really impressed how well your art has translated into fashion. I think I want everything in your store. I think it all is like so cool. And then I think the nests, a la kind of Andy Goldsworthy, with a really colorful twist, and also really like heartfelt and loving, and these like wonderful little spaces to crawl into for festivals and for weddings and stuff, is very, very cool. I think if you could stop your screen share, I don't know if I'm able to do it.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, well, again, I have so many more questions. I'm definitely excited to like pull on a lot of the threads that that you started there, but we're going to continue on, and want to hear all about what Brooke is doing from Einbender Art. She is really doing some cutting edge stuff, but I'll let her tell you about it, and then I'm going to start to ask some questions. Take it away, Brooke.
Thank you. I mean, I really just value all of your work, every one of you, and it's truly an honor to be a part of this discussion with such creative ladies. Let me share my screen. Here we go. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Brooke. You can call me Mindbender Art. I'm a multidisciplinary artist based in Telluride, Colorado. And I'm inspired by the mysterious workings of my mind, the every color of the rainbow, sacred geometry, and fractals. And a whole part of my mission as an artist is to create mind-bending experiences that will transport viewers to different dimensions. So my work involves oil painting, XR art, which I'll dive into, video installation, projection mapping, and now NFTs. So to start things off, I want to define what a few terms I'll be using in this little talk. So first of all, VR is when you put on a headset and you're fully immersed in digital space. So I create a lot of artwork in VR and painting digitally. And augmented reality is similar to Pokemon Go or a Snapchat filter where you use your phone, it superimposes like doggy ears on your head, and it's a play of putting digital objects in the physical realm. And XR stands for extended reality art or mixed reality. And that's a huge part of my practice, is bouncing in between the virtual and the physical realm. And NFTs are a huge hot topic right now. They stand for non-fungible token. And think of NFTs as a way to create digital collectibles. So it's a wonderful new technology that is empowering artists through blockchain, and blockchain technology is a digital ledger that can't be tampered with. So when I mint my art as NFTs, I'm actually creating my virtual reality artworks and turning them into collectibles. And I can even create a smart contract within my artwork that will give me royalties every time that piece is bought, sold, traded on the secondary market. So I get to grow with my artwork and its value appreciation. And so we can dive more into that, but I want to show you some videos of examples. So this is augmented reality. I create augmented reality enabled paintings, and use an app, scan the painting, and it produces a virtual model on top of the physical artwork. You guys can see this, right?
We're seeing your first image, which I think is your studio in Telluride.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I'm not sure it's advancing yet, though.
Yeah, I need to share a different screen. There we go. Can you see this now?
We are in your art talk on your desktop.
Okay.
You may just have to hit play.
Oh, good. You can see this augmented reality piece.
No, we're still seeing it's like a storage drive. We're seeing a bunch of little clips.
Yeah, wait one sec.
Yeah, no worries.
There we go. All right.
There we go.
Augmented reality. So I use an app to scan my painting, and it superimposes my virtual reality model on top of the physical artwork. I'm also going to, these are some of my other works, but there's one I want to show you, which is the virtual reality process. So I paint in VR, which means I put on my headset, I'm immersed in 3D blank space, and my controllers are my paintbrush and palette. And so I'm able to paint in 360 degrees with animated brushes that can respond to sound and music, and it's pretty much like painting sculpture. All right, there we go. I'll go back to the slides. Great, so this is my art studio in Telluride. It is half painting studio, half virtual reality lab. This is a view of Ajax. And I recently, in March, before the shutdown, had my first solo exhibition featuring augmented reality enabled oil paintings, which was so fun to show my community and educate them about this exciting new medium. So here's my painting, and this is what it looks like using the Arise app. You scan the painting, and you get to interact with the artwork in a totally different way. You also don't need the painting to experience the AR. So this is the piece just floating above the mountaintops. There's some more examples, and my painting process is very intuition based, and I just really enjoy the journey of creation and not knowing the end result. So when the pandemic hit, travel was at a halt and festivals were canceled. So I had the opportunity to use my virtual reality skills and knowledge to work with some amazing organizations. And I had the opportunity to collaborate with another VR artist to bring the Dang Gang art car from Burning Man into VR and recreate it as a digital model. And it was so fun. We brought it into a virtual reality party called the Intergalactic Safari. People all over the world could attend this event. There's a live DJ, VJ, and hang out on the Dang Gang, all from the comfort of their home during quarantine.
Wow.
I also am a member of Beyond Coral Foundation, and their mission is to restore the coral reefs, and they're based in Tulum. So we recreated Tulum in a social platform called VR Chat. So people could visit Tulum from their comfort of their home and actually interact with different coral, place it on artificial reef sculptures. And there's many infographics about coral. There's a cenote, a tiki bar, a lab, a theater, and everyone's an avatar that jumps in the space. You can be a mushroom, kangaroo, whatever. And it's so fun and just an amazing medium for connection. And I also work with scientists to render their research in VR. So this are two pieces from the Nelson Lab at UCLA, and they were published on 2 different science journal covers. So during the pandemic, I was a part of a few XR exhibits, meaning mixed reality. So there's a virtual reality gallery showcasing real artwork. And this is me, avatar, inside my VR piece titled Breathe Out. And this artwork actually sold after this exhibition as a form of an NFT. And I'll show you the platform of the marketplace for NFTs just to give you a little more insight. I was also a part of the 2 virtual reality burns. So this is my installation called Solitary Dreamer, inspired by the theme of this year's burn, hosted by VR Art Live, and the theme was 2020. So this was a rainbow chamber focusing on metamorphosis and good vibes. So people were different avatars and they were able to party in my art installation digitally. We had a whole clan of mushrooms. It was so fun. And I met people from London, Dubai, all on one singular platform, and it's real connections. So upcoming projects, since quarantine, I've been collecting doors. At first, I didn't know why I was collecting doors. I just started seeing posts on Facebook for free doors, and I thought it was an interesting blank canvas. So I meditated on it, and doors are such a symbol of these times, what happens behind closed doors during COVID, and they also symbolize new opportunities. When one door closes, another opens, and portals are a huge theme in my artwork. So I am creating a 100-door art installation at Camp B, Colorado, which is in between Telluride and Moab. And that's actually where I met Megs, who is hosting this amazing event. And I'm building an installation. It's the first of 6. I want to do this on every continent. And I'm also going to create a virtual world of portals and portal collectibles in the form of NFTs. So it's going to be an amazing new collectible experience, a way to engage with artists and musicians. It's going to really just uplift a whole creative community in a way that it's never been done before. And so if you'd like to learn more, please follow me on Instagram, Twitter. My website is mindbender-art. I'll put this all in the comments. And yeah, let me just show you real quick, if we have a second, what the NFT platform looks like. So this is Rarible. And this is my collection. It's called Virtual Twin, and they're all inspired by my original oil paintings. So what I do is when I mint a token, I attach it to the blockchain through this platform and pick a price, which is in the form of Ethereum, which is cryptocurrency. So this piece sold, and you're actually able to see the whole history of this artwork. When I created it, who purchased it, And now this collector, Block J, has reposted it for a much greater price, which is almost $3,000. So it creates extreme transparency. It creates a legit provenance for your art. And it's an amazing new way to empower artists and to kind of avoid the third-party middlemen. You become your own independent sovereign in this space. And it's such an exciting community. And to dive in, I can send you guys resources if you're interested. Just ping me, and also highly recommend Clubhouse to learn more. All right, that's it. Okay, how do I stop sharing my screen?
There should be a little box up at the top that says stop sharing.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, awesome.
Well, I mean, what's in a name? I mean, mind bending just doesn't even begin to cover it. And I know there's a lot of people specifically in this room that are really interested, especially these other painters. As far as this sounds so trailblazing, as far as the whole monetizing your digital art for cryptocurrency and the whole NFT thing. I know a lot of people are really excited to hear more. Your offer that you just ended with to ping you for information and resources, like I would get on that. Yeah. Every single painter who's interested in hearing more about it, because I know, Brooke is really tapped into something that seems to me like the future of where art is going. So
yeah, and I mean, it takes onboarding, education, and handholding to bring people into this space. And another artist brought me into the space, walked me through the entire process. And so the more we create community and bring people in, the greater it will grow and empower more artists and collectors. So yeah, please feel free to reach out for more information, because just starting and knowing about what this technology is now, you're ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really great point. And I think that kind of perfectly sums up what we're all doing here today, actually, and just what an incredible environment Megs has created to showcase all these different artists. And I think that's a really great point. Like sometimes you don't, maybe people are not wanting to handhold or share their secrets, but I think that you make a really great point that we all empower each other when we share our knowledge and what we know with others, and that only helps to grow the whole culture that we all love and care about so much. So I think that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that.
And Abby and Taylor, I think your work would be amazing as NFTs. So let's get you on board.
I definitely think like my colors in that kind of crazy 3D world would be quite interesting.
Absolutely.
And what you're doing is mind bending and mind blowing. It's spectacular, both videos.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of painters in this room right now that are thinking that what you're doing is pretty exciting. So I definitely will come back to you with a bunch of deeper questions about some of that stuff, but I'm going to circle back to Taylor again and ask a couple of questions. As far as you kind of already touched on how you pivoted, how you had to pivot your business when the pandemic hit. Is there anything more that you want to share about that, as far as kind of what was the last thing that you did, like the last real world thing that you did, and then any tips and tricks that you might want to share with people as far as how you're continuing to engage customers and keep a business going during the pandemic, and what your thoughts are for hopefully we're getting back to life now. What are the next steps as far as where you see the business going from here?
Sure. Yeah. So I mentioned that the last thing I did before the world shut down was I went to MSG, which was for the Allman Brothers 50th anniversary concert. I didn't end up staying for the whole thing because it was iffy being there. It was a sold out show, what they call in the round, where they sell all the, all the seats so that you're behind the stage too, but definitely a lot of people didn't show up. Right before that, Harry and I went to see Mark Maron's comedy show in New Haven, which was called End Times Fun, and very prophetic. And it was released the week that on Netflix, the week that the world shut down. And it was he didn't time it on purpose. He didn't know what was going on, but it was a kind of a strange thing that was the last show we went to without the hesitation of like, should I be doing this? And I'm going to leave early, you know. As far as tips for engagement, as I mentioned, it felt very inappropriate. And I talked to some other people in similar businesses at the same time. Felt very inappropriate to just go on with business as usual, trying to sell products at a time when people were just scrambling to figure out what they needed, what they wanted, where they wanted to be, who they wanted to be with. And I was going through all those same things too. And we were getting ready, gearing up for another season on the road, but I was already feeling very hesitant to go on the road again last year and was trying to come up with a balance. And Harry had actually just left New York, headed west to go to, not Telluride, but no, I can't remember, but to go to a festival, it's called Snowdown with the band. I'm totally blanking on what town, but Colorado. And got stopped, you know, everything got canceled on his way there. So we were, you know, we were separated and we were trying to figure out, should I go there? Should he come back here? What should we do? And we ended up just staying where we were and figuring out, you know, what to do with what we had. And so it was a very, you know, just this, I felt that sense of scrambling everywhere. I felt like everybody was scattering, you know, especially over the next couple of months. So many people moved out of the city and there was very much a sense of being left here. I had a really good friend who lived upstairs from me for 7 years. She left on Friday, March 15th. I had another good friend who lived around the corner. She left on Friday, March 15th. I mean, people just scattered. And so suddenly I was here just totally by myself. And the only thing I could really think to do was just to connect. You know, I wasn't selling anything, and you don't push sales when you're not already selling. You know, you push sales when you have momentum, when people are already looking, when they're interested, when it's seasonally appropriate, or there's an upcoming holiday or something like that. My business is very much a gift company. So to just blindly try to push product at inappropriate times makes no sense. And so at that time, it was really just, I have this audience and I have all these people in my world who are going through stressful times. So how can I connect with them? And how can I use my art and my network and, you know, my creativity to bring a little light into their lives? And the birthday card thing was so interesting because it was not just kids at all. It was so many people. And right away, I realized that this is beyond birthday cards. And I said, anyone who just needs some joy in their mailbox, like it doesn't, if you don't, I don't care if you have a birthday, you know, people were writing me, well, what if this, or what if that, or can you send it to so-and-so? And I was like, just whatever you need, you know, I'll send you a card. And then I got so many messages back from people, and people would send me pictures of their cards or pictures of their kids holding the cards. And the kids were so excited to get something that was addressed to them. And so it was really like, not just engaging and not just putting content out there, but I got so much back from that too.
Yeah, I would imagine that would be like really just that it would make you feel sane. I think Meg's actually touched on this too. She had a lot of artwork and she just felt like it needed a place to go. And, you know, you're kind of trapped in your house and you've got this art, this vehicle that kind of makes people smile. And it's a way to connect with people.
Yeah, I was going to say that people turned to the arts at the beginning of the pandemic for solace, and through music, through all different mediums. And what kept crossing my mind when quarantine hit is, how can I share my gifts with the world each and every day? And so it really kind of was my fuel for making art. And I mean, I'm just very blessed with the medium of virtual reality because it was able to transport me places beyond the confines of my home. And I mean, Taylor, even you sending out letters, like you're doing the same thing, sharing your gifts with the world, and the smallest gestures just, you know, make such a great impact.
It really did at the time. It's like this, every little gesture was so magnified. And whereas now, if I did it again and I said, who wants a birthday card, it would not have anywhere near the same impact or the same response. But one thing I did was I took that same mailing list and I sent Christmas cards. And so I didn't come back in quite the same wave of response, but it's still, people were surprised to receive a second card and appreciative. And I did get some notes. And I also got a lot of those were returned because so many people had moved. So I would say, 10, 20% of the cards the addresses that I mailed to successfully at the beginning of the year had changed by the end of the year. So that was interesting too.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point that you make too about how, what we might do now may not land with the same impact or resonance as what was happening at the beginning of the pandemic. Because really what we were doing is just figuring it out. None of us have ever been here before. Our lives are all turned upside down. We were doing one thing. Now we're being forced to stay home. That's not what most people are familiar with. I mean, most artists are, social beings. We're out there like trying to get our art out there, interacting with other humans. Like that's what, feeds us and inspires our work and creates community. And so, it's like what happened, what was working at the beginning of the pandemic may not work now. And so that's why flexibility and adaptability is so key in the arts, I think.
Yeah. And when one door closes, another opens. I mean, we're perfect models for that concept. Absolutely. Of pivoting and, like you said, responding, Taylor, to the current situation. And it takes time to process, but I think it's kind of a role as artists to have a response and, through their creative process, to hash things out.
Yeah, to be reactionary and provide a vehicle to help other people process their experiences with it's like they're not even experiences yet because you're still experiencing them. It's
all new.
Yeah, when I was talking to Megs about doing this, she mentioned to me that really the conversation or a conversation that she had with you, Taylor, was sort of the inspiration for this event. So kudos for that. She was mentioning that one of the things that she was talking to you about was the fact that your business kind of became even more successful during the pandemic. And, but also that there was this kind of feeling of, not wanting to actively let people know that, or not shout your good fortune from the rooftops. And I don't want to put you on the spot here, but I'm wondering if you feel comfortable, talking a little bit more about that, because I think it's actually a pretty relatable thing that that the pandemic has caused a lot of people to struggle. And if you're kind of a empathic or compassionate person, you feel like maybe you don't want to tell people how well you're doing. But also as artists, that's sort of one of our jobs or hats that we wear, is to promote ourselves and to do exactly that. So how did you navigate that exactly?
It was definitely challenging. There were a lot of complicated feelings around it because we were so bombarded with messages of suffering, and here in New York in the spring, you couldn't escape it. I mean, as the weather got warmer, I wanted to have my windows open all the time, and it was just nonstop sirens. And, the sound of the sirens was getting stuck in my head. It was like, you couldn't not feel the suffering in the city at the time. And you couldn't, like I said, that feeling of everyone scrambling and scattering was so pervasive. And then it was just, this bombardment of people not knowing what they're going to do or how they're going to get by or how they're going to adjust to this situation. And then especially being in the music industry and the festival world, I knew so many people that were instantly out of work who have no idea when they're going back to work, and who spent, as many years as I did building up a skill set and becoming successful in a very specific, area that doesn't necessarily translate anywhere else. And so it was tough, to see, friends of mine that were in those situations, whether they were on the production side or the performing side, and to see, well, I'm on the merchandising side. Why am I doing well, but they're not? We're all kind of in the same, pool here, but I'm in a position to adapt that they're not in. And so there was very much this element of just, I have to be quiet. I have to keep this to myself. And at the same time as I was experiencing a new level of success simply by just being busy, and I was also very frustrated. It was a very challenging year. So I wanted to, my instinct was to complain, but I couldn't do that, and I think that would be tacky under any circumstances, but especially last year. But, the mask thing was so hard last spring. It was months of, dealing with just massive manufacturing issues and so many customer messages and not having answers, not being able to tell them when they could expect to receive their order, because we had no idea and we weren't getting the answers that we needed. And people were they were upset. They were just upset that they were in this situation at all. And we had to really, address this sensitively. And, and then the postal delays started, and then that just keeps getting worse. And we're being told to expect it to get worse, So I am constantly feeling people who are mad at me because the post office delayed their package somewhere, and there's nothing I can do about it, but I still have to be nice about it. So at the same time as I was watching people bake bread and complain about being bored, I was also miserably buried in the tedium of placing orders and dealing with customer service and tracking packages, and not the creative fun stuff. Like I had a burst early in the pandemic where I got to do the birthday cards and create some new images and, create some new products. But then that stopped. Like there's been very little of that since last spring, because after that it was just holding on for dear life, just keeping up. And
I mean, you just have to really just roll with the punches and figure out what is the new normal and how do I adjust my business. And Abby, I mean, you mentioned that you were a world traveler. I mean, basically you're talking about painting your way around the world, right? So
Yeah,
the pandemic hits, you're gathering inspiration, you're going to festivals, you're doing all this work around the world, and then all of a sudden, so how did that shift?
Well, it's funny, just you talking about the post there, Taylor. It's been very frustrating for me recently. I've been sending paintings from France back to the UK, and because of the wonderful Brexit situation, it's all being stopped at the border, and it's been double the cost. It's costing a certain amount for the courier, and then it's costing double the amount because when it gets to the border, it's getting stopped, and then by the time it gets to the customer's house, they're having to pay double because of Brexit now, and that's a huge.
I've had some Brexit issues too.
Oh, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
It's so frustrating, and as a British person, I'm like, really? I did not vote for Brexit. But yeah, it's very, very challenging. And when I was in Barcelona, I was thriving off doing my exhibitions and my events. I mean, Collaboration Station was a project I started in the UK.
Oh yeah, can you talk a little bit more about Collaboration Station, because that sounded really interesting? And
absolutely. So it was an event that I started with two friends of mine, Helen Hyatt and Justin Morris, and Jut was actually the first person that called me Abby Fantastic back in the day, and he now wants royalties on all of my work. Anytime, no. So it was an event that we started in England, and it was basically just a fun sort of platform for artists at the beginning to give people an opportunity. As artists, lots of people don't have much self-confidence in their work or have any idea of how to exhibit their work or promote themselves. So it was basically a platform for us to kind of take people under our wing, exhibit their work for them, even invite them to their own exhibitions and be like, look, this is what you can do. You can sell your work, you can do this. And it had beautiful, reactions and beautiful consequences. People came to exhibit their work for the first time ever, and then went on to do the first solo shows in Italy and stuff like that. And then I took it to Barcelona, and it just got bigger and bigger. And we had painting, photography, live music, shibari, magic, DJs, live body painting, aerialists, yeah, live tattoo. It was like the whole parcel, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was working with some beautiful artists, some beautiful galleries, and that was like my baby. It was like my thing, and obviously can't really do that at the moment. So that's obviously been quite a frustrating thing, but it will happen again. I do have faith in this. It will happen again. But yeah, and so yeah, it was just a beautiful way to, and especially in a place like Barcelona, which is a very creative, wonderful city. Like I meet new people all the time. Like, oh, you're an artist. Are you playing the trombone? You play this, and it would just be a grateful hub of artistic people that got together to perform wonderful events together and give people the opportunity to have that platform and thrive together. It was really, really exciting.
Yeah, I think we've really had to shift from all of this live in-person festival party, world traveling. I mean, it was getting pretty hectic. I was kind of starting to wonder how, what we were going to do. Everything was feeling pretty fast paced at the point that the pandemic hit, and it seemed like we were all kind of heading for a collective burnout. And it's interesting the way that nature manifests to, slow down the human race and give us some time to pause and reflect and maybe to get, some real clarity about, what is truly important to ourselves and our lives and our art. And it seems to me that this created a real opportunity to kind of go within or to explore different worlds. And I would love.
I fully agree with that. Being in the mountains at the moment, from like crazy city life in Barcelona to being in the Alps of Morsing in France, and it's been like a complete shift in how I've lived my life. But it's been beautiful. It's like given me a lot of time to process a lot of things. To be honest, like we lost our father, and it's been an emotional roller coaster. And yeah, to be here in the nature has really given me time to breathe and focus, and just concentrate on my painting again. And it's been a beautiful sort of transition from
Abby, I'm right there with you, because being in Telluride, it's like the Alps here as well, and just being able to access outdoors is so good for the soul. And
it really is.
In May, though, during the pandemic, I got a concussion. So that added a whole nother layer. And I was out for 4 months and couldn't do anything and lost my job working for the nonprofit arts district here. But I like to say that I hit my head in the right way, because it really put things into perspective where I totally just dove deep into my art practice and decided.
Yeah, I was hoping that you would talk a little bit about that. I just wanted to set that up because I think that was a thing that happened to you that was actually probably pretty relatable to a lot of people, is that, you weren't able to not necessarily pivot what you were doing, but you had a job, you lost a job, and then that kind of, you needed to figure out what to do with yourself. And
I mean, I'm so thankful I lost that job, because I knew ultimately I want to be an artist. And so no regrets. And it's been an amazing journey. And I mean, I've sold over 13 paintings since the beginning of the pandemic, which is huge, all virtually. And it's just amazing to tap into, I think, technology as well for a tool for connection through social media, but also in different ways that virtual reality brings through social platforms. But yeah, the whole concussion thing and not being able to really have a conversation for 4 months, that would just drain my brain from art or anything. And it really, I mean, it causes you to slow down and put things into perspective. And now I can't ever not be an artist. So,
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Brooke, I wanted to ask you, were you able to create art while you were recovering from the concussion?
I tried the first couple of weeks, and it just knocked me out. And virtual reality was a huge no-no, because that's 2 iPhone screens plastered to your face. So yeah, I didn't make art. I literally just listened to meditative music and laid in bed and tried to get into nature a little bit. So it was, yeah, a super weird time, like very layers of weird, but.
Do you think that the brain injury have influenced your art once you started creating it again?
Oh, that's a great question. No, I don't think so. My work has always just had like this common trippy, psychedelic, geometric theme. And so yeah, I was just ready to dive back in when I felt healed and fully recovered.
Can you talk a little bit about your process? Because I know that you're sort of like, how much is like old school painting versus like new
Totally.
school tech? And like, were you more involved in was the oil painting like a better fit for you initially to?
So I studied oil painting in my undergrad and received a scholarship to really just focus on my art. And I worked in the art world in New York for a year after graduation for private art advisors whose husband was curator of the MoMA for 25 years.
Oh, nice.
And got an amazing art historical education. But ultimately, I knew I wanted to be a creator. So I moved to Telluride and I learned about VR in New York, put on the headset for the first time, and it just changed my life. And I knew I wanted to integrate this medium into my painting practice because I like to think of my paintings as portals that I want to jump into and explore every nook and cranny. And with VR, I'm able to do that. So once I finish my painting, which kind of stretches between order and chaos, organic versus structure, asymmetry versus symmetry, I take a photo of that painting, import it into my VR headset, into my painting program. So when I put on my headset, I just see that painting floating in space. And with my controllers, I'm able to actually paint off the canvas in 3 degrees. So I'm actually expanding those layers on the 2D surface into 3D environments that viewers can immerse themselves in. So it's been amazing to bounce back and forth between analog and digital because VR has shown me how to think spatially and almost like virtual installation art.
Yeah.
You saw in that Burning Man picture in VR, like there are little mushrooms inside the artwork. So it's just like a physical installation in the virtual realm. And so it's just cool to see my progression and how I'm taking that skill and now bringing it back into the physical through this door installation, which I've never done a large scale installation before, but VR gives me the spatial awareness and to do so. So it's always straddling like the metaverse, digitally.
Yeah, I love that balance between the real world, like real sculptural. I think the door portal project sounds really fascinating. I'd love you to talk a little bit about VCamp too, if you're interested. And I would be remiss if we didn't kind of revisit this NFT cryptocurrency thing and talk about how that is really a vehicle for empowering artists as we move into the future of visual art.
So Camp V is an amazing new property, 110 acres, a historic boutique glamping art experience in between Telluride and Moab. So it's in a rural community called Natarita, and they're really bringing this there to try to revitalize the community. And they have a nonprofit called We Arts, which stands for West End Arts, which is bringing art into Camp V to help just support the community as a whole. So there was one artist in residence before me, and he is a huge time burner. And he created, you guys might be familiar, the Wind Chapel. So it's this amazing chapel with a windmill. When the wind blows, it will play a beautiful old organ. So Obi is the artist, and he spent 2.5 months out there creating this piece during the pandemic. There was recently the unveiling. That's where I met Megs. But they have awesome refurbished cabins from like the 1800s, 1850s, the mining era. And it's a beautiful getaway near the desert and the mountains. And so yeah, I'll have an artist residency there to build this 100-door installation. I'll paint the doors, worship the doors, cut the doors. And there's so many, the cool thing about NFTs is that it enables you through the collecting experience to gamify reality. So through this project, I'm creating a game, a virtual and physical game.
Gamify the reality.
Through
Yeah, I love
art
that.
and bridging the virtual and the physical. And so the virtual world I'm creating is called the Unknown Zone. And
Nice.
each of the 100 doors that I'll paint and decorate, I'm creating 3D scans that becomes the 100 virtual collectibles. And you won't know what's behind the door until you collect it, because I'm pairing one visual artist and one musician behind each door. So that just makes it even more valuable because you're actually collecting 3 works of art. And are you guys, is this making sense?
Yeah,
Sometimes
no,
I'll shoot
Yeah.
off to the moon.
Yeah.
I'm
and I need to-
fascinated and
Okay,
totally
okay.
hanging on every word, please.
Yeah.
Sometimes I need to bring it back down to earth, but
But no, but it's good to ask the question because I mean, there's a lot of this stuff where it's like, what are you talking about? Because it's so new, you know, that, so yeah. And I mean, within the last couple of weeks is the first time I've even heard about some of this stuff, but I think you do an excellent job of distilling and defining what these things are. So please keep going.
yeah, so I'm making collectible doors, 3D scans of my physical doors, so they'll become virtual models. They are the collectibles. And so later this year in December, I'm going to have a drop, which is when you release on a marketplace platform and people will like rush to collect them, tapping into the artists and the musicians networks as well. And that's just the beginning. There's going to be a whole nother collecting component where all the contributors meet in my virtual portal world. They have a week to assemble a puzzle. And yeah, so there's many plots, twists, and turns, and I plan to do this installation on every continent. And wherever the installation is placed, I want it to support that land, that culture, that community, and a nonprofit initiative directly as well. And through NFTs, you're able to embed in the smart contract different price splits. So right when my collectible sells, a portion goes back to the visual artist, a portion goes back to the musician, and a portion will go back to a good cause. Without any middlemen. It's beautiful. It's a wonderful technology. It will really create, through blockchain, it makes it forever. There's no way to kind of delete it on the blockchain unless you burn your artwork. But it's an amazing tool for artists, like I said, to empower themselves. And it can be physical art through an NFT. You can sell paintings as NFTs. You can have unlockable content. So with my NFTs that are just little gifts of my virtual reality artwork, when you collect that, you actually unlock the augmented reality augmented reality model, which becomes yours. You own it. There's direct proof through the blockchain, and you can access that augmented reality anywhere on your mobile device and place it in different areas and worlds. And people are creating NFT art galleries, museums, all in the metaverse. So
that's great. That's fascinating. I mean, please make sure to drop some of those links in the chat so that people can figure out where to find out more about that kind of stuff. And I mean, it's such a shame that we're basically reaching the end of our talk, because I feel like we're just starting to scratch the surface of the magnificent offerings that the 3 of you are bringing to the table. And I guess we're just going to have to encourage Megs to do another one of these really soon so that we can, you know, continue this conversation, because this has just been really, really exciting. And it's incredibly challenging to figure out how to talk to so many visionaries and figure out, you know, how to get out all the information in such a short period of time. So if there's does anyone have a question before we wrap up from the audience? Maybe put one in the chat if you've got a burning question for our panelists. Somebody did mention, but we might have covered it. I don't see it now. Something about, oh no, now they're all coming through. Well, I think actually we do have to wrap up. I'm being told that I can't overstay my welcome, but hopefully we can create another opportunity for this kind of conversation to occur. And I'm going to hit Megs up for that. And I just want to take a quick moment to just thank Meg so much for all of the incredible stuff that's going on here today. All of the conversations that I've heard have been incredibly inspiring. I want to go and check everybody out and learn more about them. So thank you to her. She's such a visionary in her own right. And thank you all, Abby, fantastic, Taylor Swope, and Brooke Einbender for joining us here today. This was really terrific. And I really look forward to the day when we can all meet in person and party and talk about art and do that somewhere live. So let's make that happen. I think there's an event in our future. So this has really inspired me to think about what's next and how to bring everybody together once everybody gets the vaccine and we can start, getting back to whatever the new normal is going to be. So
thank you so much for joining us. Carly. Thank you so much, Carly. And thanks everybody else that's been here listening to us, guys. It's been truly wonderful to be part of it. Thank you very much, guys.
An amazing job, Carly, for reeling us in.
Oh, thanks, Brooke. It's easy. It's so easy. You give me so much to work with. So, okay, until next time, this is
next time.
Breakthroughs in Visual Art and Fashion signing off for now, but not forever.
Much love, guys.
Okay, take care.